So the research is still ongoing. Everything you showed us there, they're still working on it.
Yeah, it's still an active archaeological project.
Mm-hmm.
So we're focusing on many things all at once by combining archaeology, electrotechnicians, work, engineering of sound, bioenergy measurements. We have discovered many things in many dimensions to the pyramids, proving that they're not only physical structures but three-dimensional things. You go left now.
Is anything, any official, like the Bosnian state or UNESCO supporting this?
They're actually the biggest problem that we have.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, because
they're hindering you, right, wherever they can.
Yeah, basically the thing about UNESCO is that on top of the Sun Pyramid there's a medieval fortress which was built by the Bosnian kingdom. So previously we saw the Church of St. Nicholas, but the second thing that you're able to see here in Visoko when it comes to medieval times, let's go there, is the fortress on top of the pyramid. And because the fortress was discovered on top in 2008, dug out, UNESCO came here and they issued a protected zone from top down 200 meters down the pyramid. And that actually made it a little bit more difficult for us to excavate. Yeah. But already we had done a bunch of excavations, proven that we go to the right, proven that it's artificial material. So for us, we had enough, but for people, it would be great to reveal the whole pyramid. But you see the town over there, you see the buildings, the houses are situated on the northern side of the pyramid, so it would be very, very dangerous to excavate the whole pyramid because of the stones rushing down and things collapsing, so it would, kill somebody. So you would need to move half of the town over in this direction in order to reveal the whole structure. But that's not the point. The point is to reveal the history behind it, not the whole structure.
I can almost see in front of my spiritual eye, how, for instance, a bishop tells a knight of the medieval times, So here you see this pyramid. Do everything to make it disappear.
True.
Take stones, build your castle, plant trees, and you can have it, but make it disappear.
Make it invisible to the regular eye.
Exactly.
That's how it goes. Okay. Alright, so this is one of the first excavations that we have done on the tumulus. And this here open ground that you're able to see with all of these little broken pieces and parts. When they first excavated it, it used to look like a little terrace made of little chiseled tiles. So you can see what snow, ice, erosion and corrosion is actually doing. You can see that it quite broke a lot of these little pieces and little tiles, but you can see that the larger ones still stayed at the place where we have discovered them. And you can also see these little terraces, you can see the little layers and the little levels of these chiseled blocks. So essentially the materials that we are looking at right here is a mixture of clay and sand. Probably also water was one of the elements that they have used in order to mix these two together and to make this part of the tumulus building. But we'll get into a little bit more detail about it when we get to one of the nicest excavation sites that we have done tumulus.
Yeah.
Look at these, Martin.
Unbelievable.
Just look at these.
Obelix moved them.
Right now we are situated at the world's largest tumulus. When it comes to the word tumulus, the origin of the word is actually the Latin language. And in Latin, tumulus would represent a grave. The reason why it's called a grave is because it has this conical shape, like a little mound, which is rounded around itself, and that's basically it. Never have they discovered dead bodies inside of tumuli, but amongst the tumuli around the world, one of the largest ones that was discovered is Silbury Hill in southern England. The height of the Silbury Hill tumulus in southern England is actually 60 meters of height, but when it comes to the Bosnian tumulus, the largest one in the world is here, and the height of it is actually 62 meters. So for 2 meters, yes, this is the largest tumulus now. When it comes to the height of tumulus above the road, when we're looking at it above the road, you can see that there's a little bit of less elevation that you have to conquer in comparison to this side. If you really look down, you can see that the tumulus extends all the way down, and if you look at it from any side of it, you're going to see that a perfect circle continues around. So essentially these tumuli are not natural formations. They actually are man-made. Some of the archaeologists call them also man-made hills. Majority of them, if you excavate on them, you're gonna find somewhat of spiral terraces on them. And as you can see here, we have excavated on this side, on this edge of the tumulus, the eastern side of it. And you can see by removing the ground, which was continuing in this slope here, basically, we have removed the ground right here, and what we have discovered laying underneath it are these huge chiseled blocks. And this here is also a type of concrete, not as dense and durable as the concrete on the Sun Pyramid, because the materials are different. This is a mixture of clay, sand and water. And basically what they have managed to achieve here are blocks which have this kind of wavy texture on top of itself. So if you would find sandstone somewhere in nature, the sandstone is going to be smooth and it's not going to have any waves on top of itself. But there's actually a reason why the waves were added on top. So you can also see that there is a little drop as you're going down this way. You can see how the angle kind of drops down, and that's how the terrace spirals around the tumulus. So all of the water that would fall on the tumulus, for example during heavy rainfalls, the water would be pushed to circle around the tumulus, also moving over these little waves, and it's going to cause a lot more friction to happen than it would be formed naturally on like open ground and grasslands and similar. And essentially how the tumulus generates its frequency and its vibration is by water circling around these terraces, like a vortex, like a spiral, like the Fibonacci. So we have explained previously in the tour that the golden ratio spiral, which starts from the mouth of the rivers, unwraps from the rivers, goes through the top of the Sun Pyramid, through the entrance, and it ends here at the Tumulus temple. And you can see at the end of the golden ratio spiral, another spiral is starting at the tumulus in a form of blocks around it, and the way that it generates frequency is also a spiral. So 3 times have I repeated the word spiral now when it comes to these structures, and you know, things don't happen accidentally 3 times. Twice they could happen accidentally, but 3 times never. And you can also see that these blocks would be pretty challenging to carry uphill. For example, if you made them somewhere down the road and you wanted to carry something like this up, you would need some kind of a crane or something. But even if you have a crane, it would be pretty challenging to lift something like this up, because the ropes that you would use or any kind of chains would break by you trying to carry this up. And take a look at that one right there. This is the biggest block on the tumulus that we have discovered. You can see how it collapsed down. So it should have been sitting here connecting to that part of the terrace over there, but it has slipped down. And there were simply no techniques and no methods how we would succeed in bringing it up again, to reconstruct it how it used to look like originally. Now, since we don't have any conventional methods of explaining how these were carried up, we can start to think outside of the box. So there is a little thing known as the levitational frequency. The levitational frequency is also known as 28 kilohertz, which is measurable on top of the tumulus, on top of the Sun Pyramid, inside of the labyrinths, inside of the tunnels. So basically a group of scientists in the previous century, in the 20th century, they have made an experiment where they put a ping pong ball in a vacuum tube, and they were sending different frequency ranges to affect the little ping pong ball. And what happened when they hit 28 kilohertz is that it started to oscillate and it started levitating inside of the vacuum tube. So maybe the civilization who was building all of this here had some techniques how to use those telekinesis methods, how to remove the weight from something by exposing it to 28 kilohertz frequency, and then they would be able to lift it up without any problems. So another thing about the tumulus here is that according to the geothermal scannings and according to the georadar scannings and according to the sonda drillings which we have made on top of the tumulus, I will show you the place where we did the drilling, we have discovered that inside of it we have several chambers on different levels. On one of the pictures downstairs where we took a picture of on one of the posters, it says GPR scannings, and what we are able to see there is that underneath the tumulus we have almost like an elevator of chambers underneath one another. So when we hit in the middle of the tumulus and we took out the sonda needle, what started happening is that a large beam of water started shooting out of the tumulus. The water was accumulated inside of it. When we opened the tumulus, we released the pressure, and then the pressure started pushing the water out. The tumulus emptied entirely, no water inside of it at the time, but we have closed off the hole with a big rock up there, and who knows, maybe there's water inside again. But essentially in the future we will dig to get inside of the tumulus. We have tried to dig. You can see over there there's a little collapsed opening that we have tried to make like a little entrance. But what kept happening is that this very heavy clay, which was very moist, it was constantly falling down on us, no matter how many support beams we would put into the place. So that's the entrance that we try to make. So no matter how many support beams we would put there, it continued basically falling on top of us. So we kind of abandoned ship when it comes to getting inside from here, but we will try to get inside from the road level. Maybe we will have better luck with machines. Also a person from Slovenia who is invested into the energy measurements, one of them being the what's it called? I forgot the name of it. The Bovi scale. When it comes to the Bovi units, it's sort of an imaginary measuring system. You don't have an aperture which is actually able to measure it like an oscilloscope or something, but the way that you measure it is by using a whisk and by using a scale that you can measure on. And people who have talents in that, who have gifts to measure the bioenergy fields, they can conclude, for example, a healthy person has about 7,000 Bovi scale units inside of himself. A sick person has about 4,000 Bovis. Tibetan temples in the Himalayas, 14 to 15,000 Bovi scale units. And when we measured on top of the tumulus inside of the tunnels and on the pyramids that we have in Visoko, the measurements ranged between 25,000 and 50,000 Bovis, meaning that the energy here is very, very strong. And when people spend time on these places here, even if they're sick, their Bovis scale is going to go back to the regular level of about 7,500. But if a healthy person who already is healthy has 7,500 Bovis, is going to go over the board. Basically, you're going to feel even better. So that's why you're going to find a lot of people who come here to meditate in the Bosnian Valley of Pyramids, to take advantage of the things which were left here for us by our ancestors to use, and not for us to store the dead bodies inside like the modern day archaeology and propaganda of theirs says. We will continue on the top.
Grüß Gott.
We also have one of those.
Einen echten Deutschen haben wir auch nicht.
Servus.
Ich bin nur ein Österreicher.
International.
Yeah, this group here is Austria, Germany, the United States, and Bosnia right here. what a mix. We look like we could start something. Definitely. So this where I'm currently standing in is our little artistic way of marking the top of the tumulus, where we measure the 28 kilohertz frequency coming out of the top of the tumulus and moving in spirals up, similar to the Sun Pyramid, only in a smaller radius. So pyramids and tumuli have, to a certain extent, they have similar functions, but the way that they achieve those results are different. Also, you will hear today inside of the tunnels, for instance, that the ceramic blocks that we discovered make 28 kilohertz frequency, but since the walls of the tunnels are also dug through conglomerate, which is full of quartz crystals, when the electromagnetism coming out of the blocks hits the quartz crystals in the walls and the ceilings, piezoelectric effect occurs and it generates ultrasound frequency, which ranges between 28 and 42 kilohertz. And how do we make that ultrasound frequency today? You press a button and you turn on the machine and it makes the 28 to 42 kilohertz ultrasound. You can see that the result is the same, but the method of getting the result is different. So by combining these variations of different structures, by combining different heights of the pyramid, different sizes, different purposes of the pyramid valley, the pyramid complex here kind of covers all of the essential elements needed for the humans when it comes to energy frequencies and vibrations. So this installation that we have made here is called teleportation chamber. To a certain extent, this was inspired by the Maya civilization. And as we know, the ancient Mayas, they used to climb on top of the pyramids. And the ancient Mayas used to gather and download knowledge from the top of the pyramids. And then when the Spanish conquistadors came there, the conquerors, they saw that they couldn't explain it with any of their conventional methods at the time. So they wrote down that they're talking to their gods from the top of the pyramid, lowercase g, or their deities. And basically what a possibility is, what the Mayas have done is through their brain, which is the best antenna which was ever designed and placed on the planet, they may be connected to these scalar waves which are coming from the top of those pyramids and connected to other pyramids around the globe who are doing the same thing. So quite possibly could they achieve some kind of a telepathic communication network between the people who had knowledge how to operate the pyramids from all over the globe, which could explain how the Cambodian Kokir pyramid has exactly the same architecture as some of the Mayan ones. So maybe they were in contact, but the conventional science is going to say that they had no ways to contact one another, or maybe they were putting letters into bottles and they were letting it, flow over the Pacific, and prayed for the letter to go to Cambodia, like we see in Disney movies like Zindabad and the Legend of the Seven Seas. That's what they explain. So also the place where we have done the drillings, it's right here, and we have covered the hole. It's about this radius of the hole, and we have covered it with this stone here. The idea behind us covering it is obviously not for all of the grime and a lot of dirt to go into it, and the second reason why is to let the tumulus accumulate water again inside of it. So maybe one day when we lift up this stone again, maybe it's gonna start spurting up like it did in the past. It was 10 meters high, and if you talk to any one of the locals who live here in the village, they have actually participated in the excavations which were done here on the tumulus, and they can justify first-handedly that they were here when that thing actually happened. And now, outside of the story of the Bosnian pyramids, here you can also see another finding, which is actually a huge grave So you can see here that a regular person would reach up to maybe here, up to half of the grave or something. A little over the half of the grave, but you can see how far apart these tombstones are. So these two stones that were placed here were also parts of the material from the tumulus. And this person who lays here, according to the story which was preserved by the locals here, was an Ottoman Turkish soldier. His name was Toprak Ali, and he has fallen here during a fight which had happened. And the people who are martyrs in the Islamic world, the way that you would bury them, you would just wrap them around in the white cloth without washing or anything, and then you would put them into the ground. And many of times they didn't have time to carry the body back to Turkey or somewhere where he comes from. You know, it would take a long time to get there, so they would just basically bury the dead right at the place where they have fallen. So the martyr or the shaheed would be the person who died on the path of God. And there is a chapter in the Quran, in the Surah Baqarah, which means the cow. It says, "Don't say for those who have fallen on God's path they are dead. No, they are very much alive, only you don't know it." Which means that they are currently existing in a different frequency than we are able to see, and we are able to hear, and we are able to feel. So they exist, but we are unaware of them.
So is it possible that he was taller than people today?
Could be.
Okay.
Could be possible that he was very, very tall, but nobody out of respect wanted to dig it up. And we have made a little fence around, also out of respect towards the dead. We didn't want to disturb his soul. He had his soul. He had a bunch of troubles already, like on the planet. So why disturb his soul now? Let it rest and wait.
Very good.
For the day of judgment. So to go through the main street.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is like the pedestrian part of the town. It's very nice to walk through. There are little bars and cafes around, restaurants or good food. Yeah.
And that
It's
used
nice.
to be like the customs checkpoint or something, right? That building, the KTK?
Yeah, this KTK was actually a leather working company.
Ah, because this used to be where all the leather, was still where leather's,
Straight? Yeah, straight.
this was like a leather capital for hundreds of years or something, right?
Yes. You're right. Because this is also a meat industry town, and wherever you have meat industry, you also have leather working.
Oh, that makes sense.
Of course. We like to use the whole cow, When you know, there's like a saying that, right, when Bosnians eat a cow, only the hooves are left.
Right.
But actually, a stew out of cow hooves is also very good.
Yeah. The trick is to try to swallow the mooing sound as well.
Yeah.